The Secrets of Technology is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give. You're listening to The Secrets of Technology. Hi, I'm Dom Bettinelli, and you're listening to The Secrets of Technology, where we discuss the technology news that's important to you from a uniquely Catholic point of view. And joining me today on the panel are Jack Baruzzini. Hey, Jack.
Hey, Dom.
And Victor Lambs. Hey, Victor.
Hi, Dom, and hi, Jack.
Well, that is a reference to the next thing I want to mention, which is if you enjoy The Secrets of Technology, you're sure to enjoy another show on the StarQuest Network called The Secrets of Stargate, featuring both Jack Baruzzini and Victor Lambs, as well as Father Corey Stika and Lisa Jones. If you at all know Stargate, and even if you don't, you should, because it's a great show. Check it out wherever fine podcasts are found, or at sqpn.com/Stargate. Funny enough. So I want to start off with a little bit of listener feedback. A few episodes ago, we talked about tech for camping, and we'll be revisiting that topic, by the way. I just went camping with my family. I've got more things to say, and also reflections on some of the stuff we talked about before. But we did get some feedback. This came from Patrick via email, who wrote about a great app for national parks called Gypsy Guide. And I know it's on iOS. I don't know if it's on Android. And he says you download when you have bars before you get to the park, right? And then the app uses GPS to get your location and provides a tour guide experience by talking about historical sites and stories as you drive. And as you pull into pullouts, those scenic overlooked places and that sort of thing, it tells you what to look for, etc. And then options include specific parks and or regions, and there's a comprehensive subscription package of Parks of the West. And I saw this demonstrated once. I think it was on MacBreak Weekly. It was one of the Twitch shows, and they were looking at it, and it's really good. Like as you drive along, it'll say coming up here on the right is a small road that you could go down and see this beautiful waterfall, and then you'll drive down there and it'll say, look up at the waterfall, and this is the waterfall that Joe the Explorer fell off of in 1852 to his demise, and now it's called Joe Falls or something.
I love Joe the Explorer. He's definitely my favorite. And it is on Android. It's on Android too.
Oh, yep. Good. Anyway, I thank you, Patrick. That is actually a great recommendation, because I remember several years ago going to Gettysburg with my family, and we bought like these CDs, and like you drove to, stop A, and you had to like find the track for stop A. And if you went out of order, you had to like figure out where this is much better. It's all GPS based, and we'll figure it out where, it'll figure out for you what to play for you. So I like that. Excellent. So let's talk about some of the stories that have been going on this week. And I think the number one tech story I've seen people commenting on that I want to talk about, because it's all kinds of dumb tech stories that I don't want to talk about. But the one I think that our listeners would enjoy the most is this one about I'm going to press the button to turn her off, about Alexa, who will soon be able to read stories, as this headline says, as your dead grandma. That's not creepy at all. So Amazon has demonstrated some new technology that allows the Echo Smart Assistant to synthesize short audio clips into longer speech so if you feed it a certain amount of audio of a person, it will be able to basically what we call now deepfake, which is technically something different, but we'll just call it that anyway. It'll do a fake of a person. And so in the scenario presented at the event, this was the annual Re-Mars conference in Vegas. I don't even know what that is, but it's called the Re-Mars conference. The voice of a deceased loved one, a grandmother in this case, is used to read a grandson a bedtime story. So what do you guys think? Is it touching? Is it creepy? Is it beyond the pale? What do you think?
I think it's just 100% creepy. Like, yeah.
on some level, I can appreciate the the motivation behind it. But we're in an age now where we're animating dead actresses and actors into movies, and there's just no like respect for the the boundaries of life and death anymore. It's definitely very creepy. I think that there's a good use case for this. I don't know why they rolled it out there with this use case. I mean, if my Alexa talked like, say, Teal'c from Stargate, I would be on board with that. If I could feed it like a minute of Bruce Campbell quotes from Evil Dead or something, and have it talk like that. Yeah, it would be great. But I don't know why they immediately leapt to this, unless it was just to make headlines. I mean, which it did.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise, like, I feel like giving it like an actor's voice or something like that would be a more viable thing that most people would be interested in. But again, if they just talked about that, maybe we wouldn't even be talking about this.
Well, like right now, you can get Samuel L. Jackson's voice on your Echo, and it will. But it's their pre-recorded bits that respond to very specific prompts, okay. Right? This is he went to a studio and recorded stuff. It's not what's the word? Spontaneous. Whereas this is more spontaneous. And like you, I think that would have been where I thought they would go with this, is hear your favorite actor, talking to you from your Echo, responding to your request for what the weather is going to be and how's my commute, so, but I mean, from a serious standpoint, the idea of your mom has died and your child is missing her. Is it good for them to recreate them artificially, reading them stories, or is it better to help them, acclimate to the idea that grandma is in a better place, and we pray for her, and she's gone on to be, to be with God and to that sort of thing. I kind of think it's that, but it's the age we live in, I guess.
I think it kind of goes along with the whole blending of the way, like, we even talk about smart AIs and talk to them, like when you teach your kids, like, do you want them to presume that this thing that talks back to them is actually a person? Because it's not.
Yeah. And to the extent to it speaks to like the secularization of our society, where if you don't believe there is, an afterlife, or that, your soul persists after death, if you believe that death is the end, wouldn't you try to, like, and you don't believe that you'll see grandma, in heaven, I can imagine, not coming from that perspective, it would be very, disturbing to think that grandma just stopped, and you would try to grasp onto any, attempt to keep her with you.
Right.
But, so, I mean, it comes from, I think, a very human place, but it's, like a lot of technology, very, very misguided.
And ripe for abuse. I mean, imagine, creepy dude whose girlfriend broke up with him, and he programs the Echo to sound like her and respond to him. That's just super creep. But Jack, to something you said, Jack, I just want to address it, is because we brought it up a number of times on the show. There's two schools of thought. Do I model good conversational behavior to kids by being polite to my Echo, or do I teach them there's a difference between people and technology, and we should always treat technology like a machine, and you don't have to be polite to it? I think I've moved from modeling polite behavior to making sure they understand it's a machine. And I'm often yelling at Echo, just shut up when it wants to be helpful. By the way, no, not by the way, be quiet. Stop talking.
Yeah.
I always feel guilty when it's completely failed, and you call it out on it by saying, like, you stink,
Yeah.
And then it says, well, if you have suggestions for how I can improve, like, please let me know. And you're like, okay, now you're passive aggressive too, But I mean, the first thing I do is put, like, John F. Kennedy's voice into this, right? And so then it could at least say, like, ask not what your personal digital assistant can do for you, but what you can do for your personal digital assistant.
I'm not sure where that accent was, but
I'm not from Boston.
Neither. Well, yeah. I mean, the Kennedys didn't have a Boston accent either. They had a Kennedy accent, but Yeah, I mean, it would be fun to kind of give these things, fake, the voices of characters or people from history or whatever. I mean, that could be kind of fun. But yeah, the real person that you had a relationship and a connection to, that just feels like you're taking, I don't know. I mean, maybe people thought this way with photographs in the early days, like you're taking something of them and artificially preserving it in a way that shouldn't be. But I mean, maybe I'm going to be like those guys and just say that not this.
Well, the thing with photos is that they're passive. Like you're not treating the photo like it's the person. And if you are, there's something wrong with you.
Right.
Like the photo is a passive thing that you can observe. Whereas this, it's like you're pretending that it's the person, basically.
Yeah. And I mean, there have been people who have like programmed like, chatbots to mimic their dead relatives. And that's something I thought about too, as a father with, children, like if I had time, like would I program like basically a chatbot that, because I know that, as when you grow into adulthood and if you have a parent who's died and sometimes you just want to ask them like, how do I fix a leaky faucet, or like, what should I do in this situation? And so like, I kind of wanted to download my accumulated wisdom, into a chat bot, just so that if they ever do run up against a roadblock or something, they can, recognizing that it's not me, but, it's something that I programmed, they could ask it, what do I do in this situation? And, take it with a grain of salt, but, might be good for a couple of laughs.
I want a future hologram of me so my kids can go, but Dad, how do I make your sauce? Well,
yeah,
kids,
exactly.
First you start with some garlic.
Saucebot 2.0 online. Yeah.
This is a good premise for a sci-fi story.
Yeah, right. I think it would be good. Like a holodeck with me in it for the kids, that would be, yeah. But we do need to develop some ethics. It doesn't have to be written in stone, but just some ethics around this idea of dead people and reproducing them with technology, and because I think you touched on that, Victor, is like this whole thing we can do all this stuff, but should we be doing all this with, dead actors or, or our dead relatives or whatnot, recreating them or resurrecting images or audio versions of them, holograms at some point. I don't think that's something we ought to do. But we need as a society to figure this out, because the programmers are going to do it if we don't tell them not
Absolutely,
to. Yeah. So let's move on to our next topic, which is this has been a long time coming, a big controversy. New York State has passed the first ever right to repair law for electronics. And what this is we've always had a right to repair things in our home, appliances. You could fix, not long ago, you could fix your own car, but we've gotten to a point where some of the consumer electronics, the creators have brought us to the point where, they have a license agreement that you agree not to take devices apart, not to open it up and try to reverse engineer or replace parts or that sort of thing. And they've made it difficult. Like Apple has famously made it hard to repair its iPhones. The parts are hard to get, authentic parts and that sort of stuff. Although they've made some moves recently where they'll rent you the actual equipment that they use to do this sort of stuff and that sort of thing. That's a whole nother topic. But now New York State has passed the Fair Repair Act, which would require all manufacturers who sell digital electronic products within their state to make tools, parts, and instructions for repair available to both consumers and independent shops. So what do you think of this law?
I completely understand where this is coming from, and as someone who likes to tinker around with my own electronics, I get that. Like, I like having things that are easy to repair, but I feel like this is going to end up with the same situation that we're going to get with the EU and now the United States rulings on every phone having to have a USB-C charger.
Oh yeah.
Where it's right now, that's a great idea because USB-C is the standard. But what happens in 5 or 10 years when we have a new standard that comes out, and the law takes 5 or 10 years to catch up after that, because that's how those things go. They don't,
Right.
It's not going to stay in sync. Like, I'd love for my iPhone to have a USB-C and not a Lightning, but I'd rather have Apple have the freedom to develop something new rather than be shackled
Stuck.
because of a law.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing here. Like, I would love to be able to open up my iPhone and fix it, but the reality is circuits are just too small for you to be able to pop it open and fix it on your desk now. It's not like a Commodore 64. It's the technology has moved past the point where your average person can open up a device and fix it. So I feel like this is, I get it, but I don't think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I'm with you, Jack. It seems like a really good idea. I'm a fix-it guy. I mean, I've replaced screens and tablets. You know, if there's anything wrong on a dishwasher, I can fix it. But I can only see this hurting innovation and hurting products going forward. I mean, if the trade-off, I mean, let's say you have this perfectly sealed, waterproof phone, right? But now you have to make it so that repair shops and consumers can crack it open and replace the battery, and you know that would destroy, let's say, a waterproof seal or something on it. You know, or you could have a phone that's 30% smaller, but it wouldn't be possible for somebody to open it up and repair it, right? I mean, it's you're hurting innovation, and if one manufacturer says you're not going to be able to repair our devices, and another one says we believe in you being able to repair our devices, and here's the repair kits, buy the phone from the manufacturer that offers you repair kits and says that you can repair it. Let the market decide. Regulating is, I mean, whenever government makes a regulation or a law like this, it hurts innovation. It keeps more choices out of the hands of consumers. And so I don't see this. It seems like a great idea, and I'm the first one to line up and say, let me fix anything I own. Give me a $15 part off Amazon, rather than buying a $600 phone or something. But this isn't, in the long run, this is another one of those unintended consequences type things for sure.
Yeah.
I think I split the difference on it because I want to be able to repair to a degree, but I also think that there's a level at which that where we shouldn't go beyond that to hamper ourselves and the innovation. Because where do we draw the line? How much do they have to make available? How repairable? Do we have to get down to the circuit level? Do we have to have repair manuals for replacing resistors on the board, or is it you have to have a manual of how to replace a cracked screen? There's. And maybe I haven't seen the text of the bill, so maybe the bill draws a line somewhere. But how do you draw that line for? This is a broad digital electronic products that covers a whole lot of stuff. This isn't just phones. This is everything. Everything's electronic these days. So there is a Colorado it says in the article has a bill that ensures repair rights for powered wheelchairs. I'm all for that.
Exactly.
Like some companies have used patents and other trade secrets laws to prevent people from fixing things that they could fix if you just let them fix it.
Right.
And I think that's wrong. But this sort of thing,
Right. Like, does this cover like AirPods? Because there are certain kinds of technology where just by their nature, they're not repairable. Like AirPods are a disposable thing. There's no way to open those up safely and have it still be usable.
I suppose they would say, well, if you can send it back to the manufacturer and they can repair it rather than replace it, then they want you to be able to have consumers do it themselves. Because even Apple doesn't try to repair an AirPod. So I mean, I suppose they might say that, but your point is valid though, which is this stuff is so complex now. Even cars are the days of the shade tree mechanic who with a good set of wrenches could fix anything. Those days are past. Any car that's relatively modern is way too complex for Joe Schmo in the driveway to do anything other than change his oil, and maybe not even that. I mean, we're moving beyond those days.
And the ironic thing is a lot of those, the reason for that complexity is due to government regulation as well, right? I mean, mandated backup cameras, mandated emission standards and stuff, and that's why you have this complexity going into these cars so that they're not repairable anymore. And then, the government realizes that they've made this error. And so what do? They mandate that you have to be able to repair it. Right. So It's and put the burden back on the manufacturers. But when I buy a cell phone, I look, can I replace the battery myself? Oh, it doesn't have a user replaceable battery. Well, let me look at something else, because I know that batteries go out in phones every 2 years or so.
Jack, on the other thing you mentioned, it's not one of our headlines, but it is a interesting development. The EU mandating that all cell phones have to have USB-C, and now a U.S. senator saying, "Hey, what a great idea!" And it's like, have you tried to get a USB-C cable that works with everything? Like, USB-C is not a great standard yet. Like, it's better than in some ways, but like you've got USB-C charge cables, USB sync cables, USB charge and sync cables, and it's like, but then you have this additional problem which you mentioned, which is now that it's a government standard, how do we, if someone invents a better connector, how do we get government to update that in time for it to be put into the phones? Well,
right.
We got to lobby them to change the law. And that means that someone's got to give a bunch of donations to lawmakers. It's a mess.
Yeah, it's always the problem when you have non-technical people like the lawyers and legislators writing laws about technical things, right? It's never effective. And yeah, I mean, USB-C can be USB 2, it can be USB 3, it can be PD, it can be,
Thunderbolt.
Right.
Thunderbolt. Yeah. I mean, there's many different standards that go over, but somebody's like, my cable can't go into my phone. Therefore we need a law to make my cable go into my phone. It's
right.
Like, yeah.
I'm all for banning USB micro and mini. I mean, those are from the devil, but I just hate those connectors. But yeah. So, but in case people don't know, USB-C, like the letter A, B, and C refers to the shape of the connector, but the numbers, USB 2, 3, Thunderbolt, PD, those things refer to what's traveling through the wires, like not electricity, but sometimes electricity, but what's going through the wires.
The speed of the transfer and like what kind of wattage you'll get for charging things. Like the connectors all look the same, but the what's going on internally can be very different.
Right. Yeah. As I learned to my chagrin last fall, when I couldn't find a cable to keep my laptop charged, I kept buying cables like this. Certainly on Amazon says it can do it. Nope. It won't charge my MacBook. And, and I ended up buying the expensive cable from Apple because I know that one will work. I mean, if this goes through, the days of buying, being able to buy random cables at your local store, CVS or corner store, when you're on the go and need a cable, those days are going to probably go, pass you by. You're going to end up buying lots of bad cables to charge your phone.
Which will negate their whole thing about it being eco-friendly in the first place. Right,
exactly. It's not eco-friendly because we're going to end up throwing away all our lightning cables, for one thing. But also Apple's like already pushing people to use MagSafe or Qi charging, and the other manufacturers the same way. And there's rumors Apple will do what they've done with the Apple Watch, which is get rid of connectors altogether, which I really hope they don't do, because there's so many good things that you can connect to a phone or an iPad.
I feel like I'm to the point with that where same thing with the headphone jack, where I was upset when it was gone, but then I realized I never use it. Now that I have a wireless charger for my phone, I never plug anything into the lightning port anyways.
Right. Yeah. I still plug it in on my desk, but everywhere else is MagSafe for my phone. But if I need to get data in and out,
that's true.
I still occasionally...
I use it for Android Auto and stuff, yeah.
Yeah. I still occasionally do use the connector, but yeah. So let's move on from that. And before we get to our next headline, I want to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the secrets of technology, including Alex S., Aga O., Sean M., Brian S., and Benjamin D. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the secrets of technology and all the shows at StarQuest. You can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. So our next headline is this is an Apple specific one, but for those of you who like to if you have an iPad at home, and you also like to use the smart home technologies, HomeKit type stuff, it was true for a long time that you could use an iPad as a home hub, but that's going away with iOS 16, iPadOS 16. And you will only be able to use either a HomePod Mini, a regular HomePod, or an Apple TV as a home hub. Now, what's a hub? A hub, to quote from Apple, is required to take advantage of features like receiving notifications and allowing other people to control your home. So you won't be able to view shared homes unless those homes are also upgraded to the latest HomeKit. So basically, a home hub lets you, for one thing, when your phone is away from home, the hub is what makes all your various devices, cameras and switches and plugs and light bulbs, all work together. And when your phone isn't there to help you control it, the hub takes over and will route that stuff to your phone over the internet. Without a hub, you can't control your stuff remotely. It also makes it possible for multiple people in a home to control your stuff. So what do you think? Is this a big deal? I'm going to guess, Victor, that you don't have a HomeKit stuff.
I do not have Apple, but I've been using Samsung smart things for about 8 years. I have a smart home with about 80 different Z-Wave, Zigbee, and Wi-Fi devices.
Uh-huh.
And like I said, I've been using smart things for 8 years and have never had an issue with it, but I've always kind of been leery about relying on a cloud-based service that somebody could turn off or restrict features of. Yeah. So a couple of years ago, I started playing around with Home Assistant, or HACS, HACS, on a Raspberry Pi. And that's basically using a Raspberry Pi as your smart home hub. And there's also, it's amazing. Like when you get into it, you can create like all different rules. It's compatible with just about everything. And so I've been kind of running smart things and then this Raspberry Pi Home Assistant hub in parallel. And but I've still used my Samsung smart things just because it's so reliable. But Home Assistant integrates with Alexa and integrates with everything. So but yeah, I mean that is an issue with any smart home service, is that you're at the whim of whoever runs the service. So if you have the means to roll your own with a Raspberry Pi and Home Assistant, definitely do that.
How about you, Jack? Do you use smart home stuff?
So I use all the Google stuff just because honestly it's priced better and they have better support than the Apple stuff. Like all my laptop, and I have an iPad and all that, but I've never been a big fan of the way HomeKit integrates things and the fact that they're taking away yet another feature when they don't even sell the original HomePod anymore. It seems odd. It's like they want people to buy into this ecosystem, but they are not providing any sort of support for this ecosystem. Like if they really want to get people on board, they need to do something like both Amazon and Google have, where you have the home screen that you can like have on your counter or whatever, where you can control it, but they don't have anything like that right now. So until they bring more robust support, I don't think it really makes that much of a difference, because I don't know how many people are actually using HomeKit right now.
I wonder though if the iPad, they found people were not using the iPad as a hub very often, because it has to stay in the house and be powered, be plugged in in order for it to operate as a hub. And I have a feeling that most people who are doing this are either using a HomePod Mini or an Apple TV or something. Yeah, the lack of a home hub screen has really, like, I know they want us to use the home app on the iPad or on the phone or even on a Mac, but that's my device. I want a device and I'm not going to buy a $500 iPad that's sole purpose is to sit in the kitchen and be the home hub. No, I need something in between. I think later this year they're coming out with they're integrating HomeKit with the Matter standard, which is an interoperable standard with what other companies do, including Google and Alexa, and is supposedly going to let them interoperate much more closely. So the devices that support the Matter standard should support all of them out of the box. Would be a nice future to imagine. But yeah, I also I also use what is it? Homebridge. That's what I'm thinking of. Homebridge on a Raspberry Pi that lets me connect a bunch of non-HomeKit compatible stuff to HomeKit. So like all my Ring cameras are available in my home app in HomeKit. But yeah, it is weird. I feel like there's a strategy in there somewhere, but they're so tight-lipped about it. It's hard to glean because every time they have these big events, they have this like I don't know if you've seen the big Apple events where they have this fake home that's all like HomeKit, and they're always, I mean, they spent a lot of money and promo time pushing it, but I just don't feel like they've really come out with a good story for it.
Yeah, and I mean, if Apple's known for anything, it's for killing, technology that they no longer view as profitable or promising, no matter how many people are using it.
Right. Well,
I mean, they acquire companies and then basically shut them down and stuff. So yeah, I mean, as much as you can do on your own without relying on an Apple or a Samsung or a Google, that's the way to go.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, I mean, all the big ones have at one point or another shut down a service that lots of people were relying on and forced them to another. I think Samsung had something before SmartThings that they shut down, or was it?
Yeah, maybe before they acquired SmartThings. Yeah, since they've acquired SmartThings, I think they've actually improved the service, which I was really concerned about. Like I said, I've been using SmartThings for 8 years. Samsung came in about 3 or 4 years ago, and I was very worried at first, but they've actually improved the user experience quite a bit since they've come in. But again, I mean, it's they have 1 or 2 bad quarters. Do they keep it, around or not?
Right.
So
right, exactly. Mm-hmm. We talked a while ago about this, just the being dependent on, like you buy something, you spend a lot of money on it, and then being dependent on the goodwill of a company to be able to keep it going. And they change their mind one day, and all that money is gone, and the hardware is trash. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about next is Okay, here's the headline: Netflix confirms plans for ad-supported service and begins the second round of layoffs. So Netflix famously has been nervous. Their growth has slowed. Which is how many people can you actually add to your service? Like there is not unlimited number of people to add to watch Stranger Things season 4, and so they're now talking about how do we keep the gravy train rolling. One way is to get rid of things that cost money, which is like people, and another way is to find ways of getting more money, which is ads. What I didn't get from this article is, and it's in the Wall Street Journal, so it's behind a paywall, but from what I saw, it's hard to see, are the ads going to be for a new ad-supported service that's free otherwise, or are they going to roll ads for people who are already paying? Because if it's the latter, I'm really unhappy. What do you guys think?
Well, I think they'll come out with a new tier. Instead of spending $16 for ad free, you'll spend like $8 or $9 and get ad supported. Hulu does this.
Oh yeah.
Like pretty much everybody does this now.
Yeah, every other service has it that way.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel personally violated anytime I see an ad on a streaming service. So, I won't use ad-supported streaming services. It's bad enough when someone throws an ad for their own show in front of a show I'm trying to watch, like Paramount Plus does, and on Amazon Prime and stuff. And
it's
I
was going to say Paramount Plus is. They won't let you even use an ad blocker on your browser when you're watching it because they want to have all the pre-roll ads. So like I hate that one because they give you like 3 ads before your show and you're already paying for it.
Yeah, and in terms of like letting go of employees, if Netflix lets go of the right employees, I think it will help their service. I mean, they've there's been like memos and stuff coming out that like we have to be more accommodating, in our programming and not just, cater to a very small, audience here, then you've seen that with some of their comedy specials and stuff. But I think their original programming is getting better. I mean, they've relied on Stranger Things and then like bringing in like weird European shows and stuff. Nothing against those, but they have some new shows that are very good. We've been enjoying Man versus Bee with Rowan Atkinson, for example.
That's got an interesting premise, but it's Rowan Atkinson. I'll give it a try.
Yeah, and it's really like the entire series is like under 2 hours long if you just watch it, because the episodes are 11 minutes. But
okay.
So they are trying new things. They're trying new formats, and I certainly applaud them for that, because for a long time you kind of knew what you were going to get if you watched a Netflix original series. It was like some weird B tier show that was adapted from some weird property you never heard of, and yeah, so
right,
they're trying, which I will give them credit for.
Yeah, and they're spending big bucks. I mean, the Gray Man movie that's coming out in July is, I think, their biggest budget thing ever, and I'm super looking forward to it. We're going to talk about it on Secrets of Movies and TV shows. I love the book series, so I'm looking forward to the movie.
I do wonder how much of this is just streaming fatigue. I don't know if like other people have this, but I feel like there's just so many services out there now that at a certain point you're just like, there's too much to watch, and so I'm just not going to watch anything.
Yeah. I'm going to go back and watch something that was, a 25-year-old TV show and some old comfortable content that I enjoyed then. And I'm just tired of trying to figure out, is this worth it? Is this worth it? There's so much good stuff out there. It's overwhelming. And sometimes I'm like, I can't keep up. I don't even use Hulu. Like I've tried. One of my big problems, back to the ad thing, is if the ads were good. Like, I used to watch regular network television and sat through ads, and it was okay, but the ads had some variety. There was, thousands of different ads, not like the most services now when it's the same three ads every 15 minutes. Like, what do you think I'm going to do? Oh, this is the 32nd time I've seen this ad for this kind of cream. Maybe I'll go out and get it. Like, no, it's not doing any good.
It's going to wear you down.
Yeah, right.
I appreciate what you say about streaming fatigue, Jack. And one thing that I've found that really helps that is if you set yourself like, I'm only going to subscribe to 2 streaming services at a time, and then like rotate those, like you rotate your tires. Like, granted, with Prime, it's hard because you got to like re-up for an entire year. But like, now I'm going to have Prime and Netflix, and then maybe 3 months from now I'll have Prime and something else. And then in a year, I'll, drop that, or 6 months I'll drop that, get Netflix again, see everything new that's been on Netflix, and then, drop that. And the thing about these streaming services is that they don't care if you drop them. They're just so happy to have you back, when you come back. I mean, you're not hurting their feelings. So
I think Netflix has not yet learned the lesson that all the others have learned too, which is instead of dropping an entire series at once, we keep you going. Like Paramount and Disney have figured out, if we give you a new Star Wars or Star Trek series every 10 weeks, you're going to stay subscribed for the next one, unless it's Discovery, then I unsubscribe. But you'll stay subscribed. And it's like, I think they've kind of experimented with this with Stranger Things. Like, we've dropped almost all of Stranger Things season 4 in June. You got to stick around for July to get the last 2 episodes, and so you're like, oh, well, they're going to get June and July from me, at least.
I would be upset if I couldn't like binge watch Cobra Kai or Warrior Nun all at once. Like, I don't know. I like it's like, oh, there's like 10 episodes and I can watch as many as I want right now, or I can save them, I don't know. There's just something Christmassy about that. Like, oh, I got like 5 presents. I can open them all right now, or I can space them out.
I'm of 2 minds. I like the idea of being able to watch as much of it as I want right off the bat, but I usually can't. And so therefore I'm desperately avoiding spoilers forever. Like, until I could watch all of Stranger Things up to season 4 up to now, I was like deathly afraid that someone was going to like tell me. I'm glad I didn't get spoiled, because that last episode before the break was really, really revealing and surprising. And I'm like, wow, I would have sucked if I'd heard that already. And that's the thing that kind of gets me, is like, I like the idea of dropping the whole thing at once, but I also kind of like holding everybody back a little so that we don't ruin it for each other. But I get what you're saying.
I think part of it is also if you get it all at once, it's harder to budget the time to watch it. Because like if I get a show and it's like 10 episodes, it's 10 hours. Like I'll start watching the first like couple and then I'll not budget the time. But like with Star Trek, it's like every Thursday night we just watch Star Trek, and then it's easier to like set that in your schedule rather than trying to make the time yourself. I feel like
I was doing that with Kenobi with my kids. Like every Wednesday afternoon we sit down for an hour and we watch Kenobi. That's just was the thing.
I don't know. We're all adults here. Just give it to me all at once, and I can make my own decisions.
I can mainline that right now.
Yeah.
Don't have impulse control, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that is really necessary these days is for me anyway, is like a show tracking app, like keeping track of what I've been watching, which episodes I left off at. Like Father Roderick was talking about it in one of his most recent episodes of his podcast, Father Roderick Von Hogan, for those who don't know. And I use the same one called TV Time. And I check off, like I watched an episode, I check it off. And that way I know, like I can look at it and go, what am I going to watch tonight? And it's like, oh, I'm going to watch the next Stargate or the next Longmire. I've been working my way through, that sort of thing. It's like, where did I leave off? Or I haven't watched the Vikings in about 6 months. What was the last one I watched? Oh, that one in season 4. And I can go back and catch up. So, I mean, that's for me, that's necessary to keep track, because I have a lot of different stuff I want to watch. So, all right. So let's move on to our next headline, which is... this is interesting, but not surprising to me. The headline is Cryptocurrency Tech is Vulnerable to Tampering, a DARPA analysis finds. DARPA is the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, so the Pentagon. They found that the blockchain is susceptible for the whole premise of cryptocurrency in the blockchain is that the ledger system, because it's decentralized, it's hard, maybe not impossible, but very hard for anyone to tamper with it, to break it, to track transactions, all that sort of stuff. And DARPA's basically saying, no, that's actually, that isn't true. And in fact, I mean, based on what we've been seeing from the FBI, the NSA, and the Securities Exchange Commission, and some of the things that they've been doing, the legal actions they've been taking, it looks like governments are able to track some of these transactions these days. So if you think your dark web crypto sale is private, it might not be. So what do you guys think of this?
It's entirely unsurprising.
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea how any of this works. I don't have any cryptocurrency. I don't understand it at all. But, obviously government has an interest in promoting their own currency over somebody else's. So, of course, they're going to come out and say it's insecure. And but at the same time, it gets back to what we were saying about, home hubs. It's like if you're relying on somebody else's network, that's probably the biggest downside to crypto for me. Is like you're relying on, the internet service providers, you're relying on somebody else's network to, if not safeguard your assets, at least safeguard your access to them, right? So I don't know. I'm not saying that you should like buy gold and stuff it in a mattress or something, because that would be very uncomfortable to sleep on. But at the same time, I mean, if you're reliant upon somebody else's network, somebody else's like good faith that you'll be able to access this when you need it, I mean, it's really not yours at that point, is it?
Yeah, the thing with crypto is that you can back it up. Like you can get a crypto wallet, which is an encrypted device, and put it on there, and it's all on there, and it's basically just, it speaks the same language as the rest of the network, so that's how you can access it. But again, it's a technology, and so therefore there's going to be holes in it no matter how secure it is.
Right. Yeah, I was thinking when you were describing that, Victor, but like the insecure, like don't use networks that other people control. I'm like, yeah, keep your money in a bank and get it through an ATM.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you can't, if you can't barter with it at some level, I mean,
right.
Is it really yours? I mean, so
all our money is these days is almost all our money is e-money. Like I have maybe a couple $100 in actual cash in my house at this moment. Almost all my money is in a virtual form in a bank somewhere, numbers on a ledger. So it's interesting the way they describe, though, the way that people could get control of the blockchain, which is like gives an example. Say somebody with great top-down control of the internet in their country starts to interfere with the network and the nodes on the network by slowing down or stopping legitimate blockchain traffic. An attacker could become the majority voice in the consensus of what's written to a blockchain at that moment. Because that's what it is. It's the blockchain works by consensus, by all of these computers reporting this is what it should say. But if you prevent the people outside your country from having a voice in that, only the voices inside the country can tell people inside your country what the blockchain actually says. And so that is one way of messing with it. So yeah, I agree. I mean, the way crypto bros and blockchain aficionados have talked about it in the past, this is the holy grail of making sure things are what they are on the internet. And like everything else, it's not quite.
I'm just waiting for my Dogecoin to rocket up there so I can retire early.
That's right. I admit, I bought some Bitcoin in Ethereum a while back just to what's this about, and I was given a bunch of another crypto, Stellar Lumens, when I signed up for a service, and they actually became worth something. Now nothing's worth anything anymore, so there's no point worrying about that. But because crypto's in the basement, but yeah, so I think it's a lesson, just an object lesson to things, just because everybody says this is the thing, NFT, it doesn't necessarily mean it's the thing. So don't get stuck with a broken ape.
I want to be the guy too.
Yeah. Just because a bunch of people are making a lot of money on something on the internet doesn't mean that you're going to make any money on that on the internet.
So it's a pump and dump scheme.
Yeah. It's a long-term one. I mean, there was a lot of money in there. And there might still be money in the future in crypto. I'm not saying it's done, but the a lot more skepticism needs to be applied to these things, I think. So I think that should do it for our headlines this time. And let's move on to our picks of the week. And Jack, why don't you go first with your pick of the week?
All right. My pick of the week is my continuing saga of completely replacing my computer with an iPad Pro. Because you can basically do 99% of what you need to do on your computer on an iPad Pro. It's going to be even better when iOS 16 comes out, but it is a 7-in-1 USB-C hub that has two Thunderbolt ports. It has a SD card reader, compact flash card reader, USB 3, HDMI, and audio out. And I really like it because it works with the smart keyboard case. Like, it fits around that, so you just plug that in and it gives you all these different ports that you're able to access on your device. And I like it a lot because that way I can plug in my monitor and do transfers to different files and plug in an external hard drive and all that.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I could switch to an iPad Pro to do all my work, but most people could probably get away with it. Let's put it that way. Yeah, these little hubs are really great for, I mean, even with a laptop like a MacBook, which only has a few USB-C ports, it really gives you all the ports again. The one thing I ran into with iPad hubs is sometimes the ones that sit flush, depending on the case you have, it may not work with the case. I've got one that has a cable off the end, and so that I plug the cable in. But if you have the Apple case, they often make them work with the Apple case. So that's something to keep in mind. I don't have the Apple case.
There's no edge on the Apple case.
Yeah. Good. And it's inexpensive. It's only $36. So, in fact, they have a coupon on it today. So it's like even save another $3 off of it. It's good. Awesome. And Victor, what's your pick this week?
Well, what's the future of communications? Hear me out. two-way handheld radios, walkie-talkies. No, but these are, we're coming into, power outage season for large parts of the country where you can lose power. And, we've seen in various power outages where, when you lose power, you also lose access to your cell phones in a lot of cases. So thinking about that, how do you stay in touch, with your loved ones who might be nearby? And so I've been looking into various options. And of course, one thing that pops to mind is, the FRS or Family Radio Service radios, which have been around for years. If you go to Best Buy or something and buy these little walkie-talkies that you can select from a number of channels. Under the FCC guidelines, though, that's limited to 2 watts of, transmit power, which doesn't give you a lot of range. However, there is another option in that same, frequency range, so it would be compatible with that, called GMRS, which is General Mobile Radio Service. And this allows you, transmit, 5 watts up to 50 watts using those same frequencies. It does require an FCC license, but unlike a ham radio license, there's no test to take. You just go on the FCC website, pay your $35, and you get a cool call sign. Mine's WRTE 777. And it allows you to use, and anybody in your immediate family as well is covered by this license. It allows you to use GMRS radio receivers and handheld radios, base stations, repeaters, up to 50 watts. And so the link we'll have there is a link to, for around $65, you can get 2 of these radios, fairly powerful. Here in an urban environment, I haven't been able to get 10 miles of range or anything yet, but I'm working on, how I can boost my range. I have my mom lives a few miles away, in this urban environment and stuff. So just if there was a power outage or something, it would, be a comfort to me to be able to, check in with her if we weren't able to communicate any other way and stuff. So, again, this does require an FCC license, but they're very easy to get. Within a day, you can have your license, and then, but we'll also have a couple links in there for some really cool YouTube channels that teach you more about how this radio service works. So, yeah, the radio communications, the future there.
Nice.
I had some FRS radios, and actually my boys discovered them recently and have been running around talking to each other like stormtroopers. And but they even beyond the emergency use, the home power outage use, like when you're hiking or camping, you can't necessarily rely on a cell phone having bars out in the wilderness, having putting a radio in, each of the parents in case they get separated, or, give one to a group of the kids if they're going to go off and do something. But in order to stay in touch over long distances in the wilderness, that is worthwhile too. So I like this idea. I might have to pick a couple up.
Yeah, we use them for bike rides and stuff too. But with the GMRS standard and the, like I said, it's $35, and they give you the license within just a couple of hours. You can put like a 40 watt, base station in your car, with an antenna. So if you're sitting in your campsite with your car, you have 60 miles if you have line of sight, and you have 60 miles of range at that point. So, it's really cool that, I was looking into ham licenses and stuff, and something I still want to pursue at some point, but, they've dropped the Morse code, requirements. So that makes it a little bit easier for me, but yeah, this was kind of a no-brainer just to start playing around with, these different radios and stuff.
That's awesome. That's kind of a cool idea. I'll have to look into that. All right. Well, my pick this week is another Mac app, and it's called Stay from Cordless Dog. We get it? Stay. What it does, it's a very simple app. It does one thing well. It keeps your windows where you want them and ensures that they stay put. So, for example, what you do is you move your windows that you for your various apps to where you want them to be. I always, especially if you have a larger window, like a Mac, an iMac or something, you move your mail always goes here, Safari over here. I put a little calendar thing down here. And then, especially with a laptop, sometimes if it's connected to an external monitor, then you disconnect it and you open up the internal display. it's all messed up, and then you connect it back and they're all over the place. Well, you just go into the Stay app in the menu bar and you say, restore Windows. It'll put everything back. And then you can also create data sets or window sets, where you can store various different configurations. And so it's a neat little app. It is $15 for a single license. You can get a family pack for up to 5 users in the same household for $22.50. A single license usually means like one. You could have on one desktop and one laptop computer used by the same person. So I think that's probably the case here as well. So that is called Stay. Stay, good boy.
Yeah, it looks very cool. And it's kind of like, things come full circle. I remember like 25 years ago in like running on Unix machines and in like an X Windows environment, we had something very similar to this where you could pin Windows and recall, virtual desktop layouts and stuff. So it's cool to see that it's still alive and kicking.
It's probably a guy who used to use those things.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So that's it from us this time. We would love to hear what you thought of anything we had discussed today. And you can let us know your thoughts by commenting on the show at sqpn.com/technology or the SQPN Facebook page at facebook.com/StarQuestMedia, or send an email to technology@sqpn.com. Or visit the StarQuest Discord community at sqpn.com/Discord and join the Secrets of Technology channel. We'd love to. We've had some great conversations with folks there, as I mentioned before, and we'd love to have you join us there. You can find links from our discussion and our picks of the week on our show notes at sqpn.com. We'd like to thank James for research assistance in this episode. Until next time, Victor Lambs, thank you for joining me and sharing the Secrets of Technology.
Thanks, Tom.
Jack Baruzzini, thank you as well.
Thanks, Tom.
And once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Technology on StarQuest.